Hi, this is Saad Shah of MetricX, and in this video I'm going to give you an overview of our Property Management Process Improvement Toolkit. The toolkit is designed to answer a common question that many of my clients have. How can I scale my portfolio without adding more cost and creating more work for myself? And the answer to that question is you've got to create systems. And by systems, I mean, you've got to have repeatable processes, you've got to have well-trained teams, you've got to use metrics and targets, and conduct regular reviews of your performance against your targets. And most importantly, you've got to build up continuous improvement culture where mistakes are allowed, but you also have an emphasis on learning from mistakes and getting better and better. If this resonates with you, then let's take a deeper look at the Process Improvement Toolkit. The toolkit consists of several modules: the Process Catalog, the Cost of Quality Calculator, which is also called the Defect Workbook, a list of process metrics, and a template for creating an action plan and communicating your roadmap. The toolkit is customizable. What you get are editable documents that you can add and delete and modify. And you also get a couple of hours of coaching to help you get familiar with the toolkit and also to get help using the toolkit and applying it to your situation. The toolkit is based on our property management process model, which essentially looks at your property management business as a series of interconnected processes. For example, process to convert leads to leases, to take care of your tenants, collect rent, and ultimately plan for the end of the lease and turn over the unit for the next tenant. Under each of these processes are defined activities, and the toolkit enables you to add and subtract detail here so that you can customize it to the way you run your company. Our philosophy for process improvement is based on the concept of throughput. Since processes are interconnected, we focus on identifying where the bottlenecks are and focus on releasing those bottlenecks so that the downstream processes can be optimized as well. For this reason, we use the defect workbook to identify what can go wrong and what can reduce the throughput in each of these processes. So let's take a look at each of the modules. So the first module is the process catalog. So each of the boxes that you saw in the diagram is shown as a major heading, and under each one are different activities. So for example, for lead management, you receive the lead, you make initial contact, you show the unit, you record activities in the CRM system. Going further, for example, for unit turnover, you create the turnover plan, estimate the cost, approve the budget, and so on. So these are examples of activities that are pre-populated in the workbook, and you can modify and add or edit these accordingly. In addition, we've got columns to identify who's responsible, and for you to rate the value of each of these processes, the importance for building your brand. And so business value, and then also how complex is it, and how much energy and time and effort is it going to require to become really good at any of these activities. The second module is the defect worksheet. We also call it the cost of quality calculator. Here, you'll recognize the same processes that are in the diagram. But for each process, we've identified different types of incidents. Typically, these are things that can go wrong. So for example, for the application process, applications could have been entered with missing data. Applications might not have been followed up on. Lease signing got delayed due to incomplete documentation. These are examples of things that can go wrong. Here's an example under tenant care. Slow response to service requests, delays in closing service tickets due to work starts and stops. unnecessary work performed on a service ticket, and so on. So these are examples of defects. And what we do in this workbook is we try to quantify how often does this really happen. And then what is the cost of this? And you can put dollar amounts here, or you can just do a rating. And then come to an agreement with your team on what's the importance for resolving these. If something happens a lot and it's really costing you and it's tarnishing your brand, then it needs to get a higher priority for resolution. So this is a framework for deciding where to focus your energies and fix the things that your team agrees are a real problem. The next module is the process metrics. So these are metrics for each process that you can use to measure how effective they are. So for example, again, going to unit turnover, number of units being turned over, average days for turnover, amount charged for damages, number of turnovers that are on budget versus and number of turnovers that are on time, and so on. Now, as with every other module, you can add and edit or delete some of these that don't apply to you. And then we have some additional pieces of information. So you can write a description here and then determine what the usefulness of these metrics is for your particular situation. So ultimately, all improvements need to be measured, and this is the starting point for defining what those metrics are. So once you've gone through the process of identifying the important processes, identifying what goes wrong and what needs to get fixed, and then in the third module, what needs to be measured so that you can make sure that the improvements are working, we go to the action plan. And so we offer you a template. This is really for you to communicate your goals to your team and to get your team on the same page. So we identify the processes that are high priority, what improvement goals you've set, and where you are today and where you want to be, and who's the executive sponsor, and so on. So this creates some sort of an accountability and a commitment to actually take action on the things that you've identified. So if you find your team is constantly putting out fires, this is one way to step forward and say, we recognize it and we're going to make fixes, and this is where we are today and this is where we want to get to. So this is an example of what is available in the toolkit. And this will save you hours and hours of time. Plus, it'll also give you a framework that is applicable to your business so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. The Property Management Process Improvement Toolkit is available for purchase on metricx.com as well as our product site, rentviewer.com. My name is Saad Shah, and you're welcome to get in touch with me with any questions.